Okay, hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this live conversation that we are having. I am here in Neutral Grounds Gallery, which is located on Treaty 4 territory here in Regina, Saskatchewan. I'm Amber Phelps-Bondroff, Programming Director at Neutral Ground, and I have with me today one of the artists from this group exhibition, Endings and Beginnings, Amy Snider. Hello, Amy.
Hi, Amber.
How are you doing?
Good, good. Managing, I guess, as well as one can.
Yeah, it's strange times. I have a weird height here, so I'm gonna have to like take down a little bit. Yeah, so I'm really excited to be talking to you today. It's been lovely working with you and presenting your work in this exhibition. I just wanted to take this video time to get to know you a little bit and get to know your work. So I might first ask just where you're from and how long you've been here in Regina.
Sure. Well, thank you for making the effort to get our work out there. Given the conditions we're in with the gallery being closed, it's wonderful of you and generous that you're spending this time interviewing us and such. So thank you. I was born in Montreal, but grew up in Richmond, BC. And so while BC still feels like home in a kind of home way, I've now been in Saskatchewan for almost half of my life. So I sort of have two homes. And yeah, that's it in a nutshell where I'm from.
Yeah, and I know that you have another career, another life before being an artist. And I'm curious to hear from you what brought you to your art practice where it is now. The work that I've seen of yours is mostly ceramic based. I'm not sure that that's all of your work. What brought you to working with ceramics? And I'm going to just show our viewers your work as you're answering.
Okay, sure. Well, I think I had always wanted to do art. I never imagined, still don't really imagine being an artist, but I had really a difficult time growing up and never occurred to me to even try to make it a part of my life until all the way ahead till 2015 when I was doing really unwell. I was quite burnt out from my job and not feeling good about my life. So I actually had to take some time away from everything and sort of figure out what I could do, what changes I could make to make myself feel better about who I was and where I was going. And I just didn't want to grow into a really angry, resentful old woman. And part of that sort of reprioritizing was deciding to give art a go. And so I started taking senior undergrad classes at the U of R in ceramics. I should say I had done a Bachelor of Arts with a minor in visual arts. So I had dabbled a bit and done a little, but just left it at that and never thought about what I could do with it until, like I say, about 6 years ago. And even then, I just was doing it to get myself back into creating art with no sense of, where it could take me, even just because I wanted to be making art. And ceramics was my entry point because I had enjoyed it most when I was a kid taking, art classes at the community center. I've always enjoyed clay. And so I thought I'd start out in ceramics. And like you may hear other people say, it kind of can get its claws into you or its teeth into you. And it's hard to leave. It's very attractive sensually. And there's just so many delights to working with clay. So I am still largely using clay and doing ceramic work. But as you can see in what's on the screen now, I incorporate other media as well. And I hope to continue doing that. And I've also experimented a little bit with performance and non-material art making. But I frankly, I came running back to material art making. I think that I am a maker and I I just enjoy creating things and enjoy the sort of technical and intellectual problems of art making with physical objects. So that's a bit of background.
Yeah, well, I mean, you definitely have a pretty, I would say, unique approach or an experimental approach to working with the clay, as we can see in this work. And then I might just wheel us around to see your other piece.
Good.
So I'm curious about that. Like, I'm hearing that you really love the tactility of clay and of making things, and then to also, approach your material in such a kind of non-conventional way. Is there anything that you could share with us about that?
Sure. I guess
explain what's going on here first.
Okay, right.
For those
Yes.
that might not be there.
So for those who have no idea what this is, and it looks like a bunch of dirt, this piece that's on the screen now especially, these pieces are made of local clay from a source nearby in Saskatchewan. It's unfired, and what I did is I ground it into powder to make it resemble dust. And clay dust is a real thing, and a risk of working with clay is inhaling clay dust, as potters and ceramicists would know. Anyways, I got this ground dry powder dust of this clay and experimented a lot and failed a lot, but eventually was able to get these pieces to at least stand for a while. And on the left, you see a little bowl, and on the right, it may be hard to tell in this video, but it's supposed to be a plate. And I joke with people that it's not supposed to look like, a cow patty. But the idea is, so my work in this show and other work I've done recently that I've shown is conceptual, kind of more sculptural ceramic and clay pieces that are talking about climate change, the consequences of climate change, and also how I feel about climate change and what it does to me to think about it. And I'm an activist involved in a few environmental groups and climate change groups. And so this is sort of a key component of my life. It can be quite absorbing and of course quite upsetting, and the struggle to really understand what to do with the knowledge that one starts to learn about the issue. And in these pieces, I guess the set would be called Dust, and on the left is Dust Bowl, and on the right is Dust Plate. I'm referencing the fact that we'll most likely see a lot of drought in this part of Canada as a result of climate change. That's what I've read in sort of the science of predicting what's coming our way due to climate change. And of course, we farm a lot here, and not only that, but we need food to put on our plates, and drought makes it very hard, sometimes impossible, to grow the food that we need to eat. And so the bowl and the plate represent that. We put food on our table, and due to climate change induced drought that we're likely to see, it's just going to be very hard to continue feeding ourselves and continue surviving. And so that's what this piece is about. And I think that I'm always torn because while I love the tactile, sort of sensual nature of clay, and I love to throw pots on the wheel, I feel like I have this drive to tackle this issue: environmental degradation and biological annihilation, all of these really hard issues that trouble me. I feel the need to deal with them in my work. And it seems to me, at least until now, that I have to leave the wheel. I have to experiment with the material and sort of push it to its limits, and find ways to manipulate it to say what it is that I'm wanting to say and what I'm feeling about climate change.
Right. So I want to ask, like, you're dealing with some pretty heavy topics in your
Mm.
work. And obviously, well, climate change is a really big one, and it's just so, I mean, important is an understatement, but I'm
Mhm.
just curious, like, when you're working in this way and digging into these really, heavy realities, how do you kind of find a balance for yourself to stay hopeful or to just like keep making the work? Is there anything that you do maybe outside of your art practice that sort of finds a balance? Or yeah, just how do you keep it all in check?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And actually, if you wouldn't mind, Amber, if you show the other works that are behind you now, that is, I realized just as I was installing this set of plates in the show, the topic of these pieces actually. So these are plates that I was originally trying to convey the fact that we, our species, is really hoping that technology is going to save us. And in fact, technology will be a part of slowing the effects of climate change. But there is absolute knowledge that where we're heading is so catastrophic that slowing it at the rates we're doing now isn't going to be enough. And so there are other innovators, scientists, engineers working on technological fixes. And some of them are so outrageous that even the people creating these ideas don't ever want to see them have to be implemented and don't even really believe that they're going to work, or are also worried that they'll cause other problems, huge problems. So for instance, one of these ideas is actually building a huge wall. I think I read like 300-foot tall wall to hold up an ice shelf in near Greenland to stop it from melting and raising the ocean's levels, water levels. And other ideas in technology are like equally far-fetched sounding and really very risky. So that's a diversion. I know I'm not answering your question yet, but I'm getting there. I thought of showing how, these plates are actually cracked, and instead of like stopping what we're doing and figuring out how to live better, or how to, as a potter, make plates better that won't crack like these did, we're hoping to hold things together and solve the problem via other ideas that involve other technologies. And so that's what we have here in the piece that Amber's showing right now. I think this one is called Hold It Up. I get their names mixed up. And then the one with metal on it to Amber's swinging over there is Keep It Together. And the one at the farther end of the table right now is called Build a Wall. And as I was saying, when I was installing these, I realized that, this is me right now. I'm trying to hold it together. I'm trying to keep it up, try to keep going with my daily life. I'm a mother. I'm a full-time faculty member at the university. I do all these, volunteer jobs, and it's a lot. And it's a lot to continue with, especially when you're feeling overwhelmed by what you read about climate change and what's coming our way. And so it's a lot to keep up and to hold together. So this is, I think, really a self-portrait type of series of pieces that show the state that I'm in, as much as the state of where we're at right now in terms of trying to keep the planet going, keep life systems functioning, and slow down their collapse. And so I guess one thing I do to keep myself going is to create. And some of that is obviously creating works that directly speak to this issue, this really like deep, dark issue. But I also will sometimes, when I can fit it in, just throw something on the wheel, and a functional piece such as a bowl or a cup. And in a few of those moments when I'm able to just get into the physicality of working with the clay on the wheel and feeling it spinning under my hands, and the water that I'm using, and it gives me a serenity that, being in nature gives me, honestly. Clay to me connects me to mountains that I that I miss. My family hikes in every summer, and I swim in glacial lakes, and I love the glacial silt that is on river and lake beds. And so connecting with clay brings me to that space sometimes when I'm able to sort of quiet my mind enough. And also just going out in nature helps me as well. So all of the hiking and swimming I just mentioned is another way that I just try and focus on the moment and what I have now and appreciate it. And I do feel really grateful for the life that I'm leading. And of course, I'm worried about where future generations are going to be. But in addition to that worry is just my feeling of privilege for having what I have right now. And so those are some of the things and thoughts that I have that help me keep going.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to ask you to share an anecdote about this work. I know you said you had a source to get it, and I know who that source is, but I really thought it was a kind of a beautiful story behind acquiring this material and the trade that ensued. I don't know if you want to share that.
Sorry, the what that ensued?
The trade.
Oh,
Sort of a nice, perhaps uplifting note to end on.
Yeah, I hope he won't mind. I don't think so, but Jeff Meldrum owns some land. I think he said 4 hours north of here, Amber knows. And he had been in the studio before COVID shut things down, and I saw this clay that he had, and I was like, wow, I really would love to work with that. So I asked him if I could have a bit, and he was visiting his land just 2 weeks or so before the show opened, and it was all very last minute. I'm like, Jeff, if you're on their land, can I get some of this clay? And sure enough, he had to ski in and ski out from this very remote land, and he skied out with about 3 pounds of dried clay from his land. And I traded with him for some very local eggs, let's say. So yeah, it was a nice touch. I had been trying to make these pieces with porcelain, but this feels like a much better fit for the work.
Yeah, and I mean, as far as I didn't really know the story behind this. I was with Jeff, who is my partner. I think it speaks to the small, close-knit nature of our community here.
Yeah.
I gotta bring this clay back. One of my classmates, I was like, you can ski out with that, and had mentioned that you had arranged a trade for some of your local eggs, which I think was just such a wonderful exchange. Really, like there was no. And the fact that, we were skiing into this land and being very respectful of it, and this work really feels like, I don't know, I feel like there's some strength in that process that folks might not know about. It might not be important,
Right.
but that's definitely part of what I find really, really beautiful about it. That sort of hope and that, commitment to being good to the land that we're on. We might not be able to fix the entire globe, but we can be respectful of the little piece that we're standing on.
Absolutely. And that's entirely a part of the piece. And I haven't fired these. So clay, when you fire it, is no longer clay, it's ceramic, man-made product. And these pieces are still just pure clay. So dust to dust, ashes to ashes, all of that. I think it's about a 0 footprint causing a work as you can have in clay and ceramics. So that was certainly another part of the intent. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for chatting with me and for elaborating a little bit about your work today, Amy. I think we'll sign off here.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone who's watching. We're going to share some more videos of the artists who have work in the show in the upcoming weeks.
Okay, well, thank you again, Amber.